everybody. Welcome to the Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Jo Wheatley, and my friend and co host, Zoe Hawkins.
Hi, everybody. We are back again for another podcast. And this week we are answering the question, why is everybody training to be a coach? And we're bringing this to you because it's a question that we do get asked quite a lot. And people see people coming on coaching training, they hear about the growth of coaching through organizations and the passion that people bring to this topic. So we thought we'd just shed a little bit of light on our perspectives on why so many people come and train as coaches.
Well, I think people come and train as coaches because it's like a life hack. It's a massive life hack. What do I mean by that? I mean that people come and train to be coaches, and as a result of it, they massively develop their self-awareness, which has hugely beneficial impacts in all areas of their life. Family, work, elsewhere, they are able to draw clearer boundaries for themselves. They're able to understand and articulate their needs more. Um, it's just a brilliant, brilliant thing to do. And I think when somebody's gone and trained to be a coach, they tell all their friends, they tell their colleagues, like, oh, I'm on this coaching training. It's amazing because we're doing stuff around values or we're doing stuff around beliefs. I never knew this. I never knew that. And now I'm approaching this conversation totally differently. And I've got this result I never would have before.
I had a client in my inbox this week who we were exchanging a couple of emails about something. And she's like, by the way, I love your training course. I dream about it. I can't stop thinking about it. My entire family know about it. So there is something about coaching. As you said, it's a life hack. It's a passion. And to drill it down, like training as a coach can really amplify your career. So when you are, in a role in an organization, the center of how you get anything done is relationships. Ultimately, you're part of a team or you lead a team, you support other teams. Like it's a nested after nested relationship. And I think what coaching skills enable you to do is really navigate relationships. You navigate yourself within a relationship. You understand behavior better, so that helps you to make more informed decisions around how you interact with different people, and it really gives you skills to be in effective relationships. Deep questioning, listening, challenging, observing, giving feedback. These are all hugely employable skills. And so when you are thinking about your career development, maybe you don't want to become an independent coach, but getting a coaching qualification can just really help you to, one, get clear on your career path because you get coaching as a result of being on a coaching training program. But two, in developing coaching skills, it enhances your promotability, your employability, as I said, your ability to be in relationship and be effective.
And I mean, we said recently we're going to do a podcast on dating and coaching, but I think enough to say right now that if you train to be a coach and you're single and you're feeling like you're not making very good choices in your partners, doing a coaching course will honestly really help, because when we talk about the boundaries, but you'll be exploring your beliefs, like your empowering beliefs, your limiting beliefs, and you can explore that. You will be exploring them in specific contexts. So whatever is most relevant to you at the time is what you will be bringing when you're in the role of coachee. So you'll always be practicing as coach, developing your skills and abilities as a coach. But in order to enable other people to develop that, you'll always be practicing, or certainly on our programs, in the role of coachee as well. And we really believe it's important that you experience the benefit of the different coaching approaches and tools to be able to have that kind of 360 on it. So it can be so helpful. I mean, I trained as a coach. I trained as a coach actually after I'd met my husband, but what I learned through that training, I could kind of cast my eye back and I can totally see how I would have made some different, choices in my life, not related to my husband, but, previous relationships, because it really does tend to build your confidence and boost your confidence, and just really know who you are, and not only who you are, but what you want. and therefore what's going to be the best match for you, whether that is in a life partner, whether that is in, you know, the career that you're in. So lots of people when they come on coaching training will be in a healthy way exploring, am I in the right place? Do I want to stay in the role or the job that I'm in? And if so, am I happy staying in my current role? Do I want to go for a promotion? Or they might be questioning, do I see my future in this organization? And what coaching does is it enables people to make decisions in an affirmative way, in a confident way, you know,
Mm.
and that's really powerful.
I think we also live in really interesting times right now. You know, when you look across the world, let's take AI, for example, where there's this new industry that's emerging and it is growing at a rapid rate. And, you know, many people imagine a world where AI does so much for you, you know. And you can imagine organizations where AI is a core part of how they do work. But what's going to be really needed within this AI world are people who have excellent human skills as well. Because people can easily become quite disconnected when you rely on technology. People can become more lonely. They can become more reliant on, communicating with a machine. It's different for perhaps a generation of mature workers right now, but people who are going to be coming through an organization, I think there is going to be an epidemic of disconnection as people rely more and more and more on technology. You're going to need incredible leaders in those environments that know how to motivate, inspire, bring people together, nurture, listen, you know, and coaching skills are really the one skill I think that all leaders need to build. It's almost like an insurance policy for the future. Like I know how to help people in a deep and meaningful way. And I think people are going to be craving that. That's how you're going to retain your talent. Talent's going to be so mobile to be able to walk across different organizations. Technology can expend, different roles easily. So there's going to be a call for leaders who can really nurture high performing teams within this highly technological environment. So, you know, for me, coaching is a complementary skill to AI. It's not necessarily a full replacement. I don't think there needs to be the fear of coaching not being a growing industry. What we see is coaching continues to be a growing industry, and it's still a really exciting time to enter into an industry that can, I think, make such a difference.
And I think people are training as coaches, I think following on from that because of community. So what I loved about training to be a coach, and it was a facilitated program, and I think there is a difference between facilitated programs and self-guided programs. But if you take a facilitated program, you've got the community in your cohort where you're practicing. If you're doing a self-guided program, you might have a community where you can meet with other people that are also going through a self-guided bit. What I loved was being in a space with other like-minded people. So whilst in my like corporate job, there are lots of people that I really liked and I respected, but I didn't necessarily feel like they saw the world in a similar way to me, or a similar way as I would love to. But then I go into this coaching training, and of course everybody's different to me, but there was a deeper level of connection or understanding and purpose and way of viewing the world. And I really loved that. I loved learning and seeing those different approaches, but there was a deeper connection. And I think community will become more and more and more important in the vein of connection, as you said, Zoe. So I think people do come on coaching training for knowledge, but it's not the only thing that they come for. It's like a part of what they come for. And yeah, you can Google, coaching tools and so on. You can read about those things. You can ask ChatGPT to train you as that. It's not the same as practicing, getting feedback, having conversations with other people, being able to practice the nuance of things in the moment. It's a completely different experience, and it nourishes you in a different way.
Well, I was going to say, I think a reason people come and train as coaches is for their well-being. And I can reflect back on early days when I was going on different courses and I was searching for a way to heal something within myself. I think I've said before on the podcast, I wasn't broken. Like I wasn't in despair. I wasn't depressed, and I wasn't I didn't feel like I needed therapy. What I was looking for was, well, it was coaching. I didn't know I was looking for coaching at the time. I was looking for a place to be able to learn how to work through the things within myself that I knew just weren't whole. And I believe that's still a really strong reason why people come to coaching, is they are looking for a level of personal growth that they cannot touch elsewhere. And they know the answer exists within them, but they just don't know how to do that. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about what is so special about coaching then? And sometimes people say things in coaching that just totally melts barriers away. I can remember a specific time in a coaching session, I was talking about something. It was actually something that had happened in my childhood, and it was an emotion we were talking about and a memory that I had. And somebody said something like, wow, that you must have felt really shocked. And that completely changed the way that that memory had its hold upon me. And I think I don't like, maybe I could have got that from counseling, but I wasn't ever going to go to counseling for it because it wasn't something I needed. It was just something that came up in the context of something I was trying to achieve. And that one sentence just broke so much away. And that happens time and time again when people train as a coach. They start to experience, when you have meaningful conversations, and we provide semi structures and we provide tools and you learn things about yourself, things just start to make sense about who you are and how you want to be and what you could do differently, that you don't need to go and find a solution. Like the solution has always been there and you're just unlocking like another version, another level of yourself. I think I always inherently knew that about coaching, and that's how I sort of got into the profession, was actually on more of a healing and growth journey than I was looking for it as a career. It just happened that when I found it, I fell in love with it so much. I was like, this has to be my career. Like there is literally no other way I could do anything else. This is the thing. So I think there's a deep personal reason why people come and train as coaches.
I've just had next to me my notebook from when we spent some time together last week and we were exploring, a little bit of this stuff. And, these are rough notes, but some of the things that we came up with were that coaches are AI for the soul. Like people come and train to be coaches because they feel deeply about contributing through other people, that a coaching gives free will to a person. When you start thinking about it in this way, like why wouldn't you come and train as a coach? Like not only to be able to access it for yourself, but to be able to support people with that. That coaching is an expression of self. It's about breaking or dissolving barriers of self-actualizing. It's about amplifying tuition. It's the language of the soul. It's about expansiveness. It's socially acceptable counseling. It's about unlocking a different plane in your mind. It's about making the unconscious conscious. Um, it's all about human. It's like a human being 101,
Mm.
So
Do you know
if you,
there's people listening to this, Joe, thinking, what on earth were they doing? Like, is that your everyday conversation? But on that, like I would say, do you know what? These are pretty much everyday conversations. And I think another reason, maybe not why people come and train as a coach, but why they stay so passionate about coaching and go and tell other people to get involved, it just takes you to a deeper level of connection. Like we've said, haven't we, Joe? We can't do small talk. Like we've literally untrained ourselves in the ability to do small talk. Like I'm actually quite a quiet person when I'm at social gatherings because I don't really know how I can engage at that level. But find me someone where we can talk about the meaning of life. I remember being at one of my daughter's parties recently, and I met oh gosh, I have to remember his title. He was a cardiac anaesthetist in an A&E department. So basically, when people go and see him, it's really bad news. And we were talking about coaching, emotions, life after death. Like we covered
Mm.
the whole spectrum in like a couple of hours in this back room with a Coca-Cola each, because it was like a kids' party. I had a brilliant night talking to that guy. And but I couldn't talk about unreliable buses and the introduction of parking fees in the local town. Like I can't do it. And I think there is something that brings people to coaching that that sort of inherently crave that level of depth and
Mm.
connection with other human beings.
Yeah, there's more on the list. I
Oh,
think,
is
shall I
there?
keep,
You're gonna
there's
just
just about three more things.
go on
So
then.
one is about, coaching is about becoming deeply attuned to self and others. Um, and we came up with a phrase that is, we help people awaken their intuition and live with contagious resonance. So it's very much around nurturing. And we were chatting to somebody about it, and they shared, I think this, I don't know who this is a quote from, but I think it is a quote, which is that intelligence is having good answers, genius is having good questions.
Mm.
Um, which is another way of looking at coaching. So, as you were saying, like if I was hearing somebody else talk about all those things, I'd be like, let me in. Let me in. I, I love this. I just know it appeals to me. Like my conscious mind might be trying to think, what on earth is that all about? But on a deep level, for me, there like would be an attunement to it. And as we said on other podcasts, there's different types of coaching, training that you can go on that appeal to different people. Our kind of coaching and why people come and train with us is because they want the deeply practical tools and to build the confidence and competence in the accreditation bodies competency frameworks. We absolutely do that. And there is the recognition and appreciation of the need to develop yourself as a coach and to discover who you are as a coach with the essence of all of those things that we've just talked about. And I think a lot of people come to coaching training because they're looking for peace. Um, it really is a great way to bring peace of mind. And as challenging as coaching can be, there's a real spaciousness that coaches create in the space in the conversations that they hold with coachees that can be so refreshing and nourishing without the pressures of everyday life that we know are still there. Of course, they exist, outside of the time that you have together. But it's, if you are interested in the meaning of life, coaching is for you.
And it can be light. I want to add that in as well because there's so many conversations we have, Joe, where we ebb and flow, don't we, between those deep esoterical questions to like laughing our socks off at something really inconsequential. And I find myself doing that with clients as well. One minute we're talking about who are they, and the next we're laughing at something that they have uncovered or believed. Like it's deep and it's light, it's fun and it's serious. And to be able to ebb and flow between those spaces seamlessly, I think takes great skill. And I think people who are drawn to coaching, you want to have great skill at being able to do this thing, which is so like important and transformational. And we are meaning makers as human beings. And I think coaching really helps us to find meaning in the different paths that we take, whether we choose to be an independent coach or whether we just want to be a really exceptional leader. That is like you want to leave a legacy, and your legacy is to be the leader that someone later on in their career is talking about. Like what Joe was kind of alluding to there in the notes that we made, we were doing some work on our business and getting connected, I guess, to the soul of our business. And the person helping us was talking about different mentors in their lives. And there will always be people who you remember as really shaping and contributing. And you might want to be one of those people. Well, coaching, that's why people come, is just they find their way to be able to contribute. And coaching is often the vehicle that takes them there.
Yeah, when we find a lot of people that have been supported by other people, a significant person at some point in their life, and they want to be able to give back to others. And it's so nice to be around the energy of people that, are deeply appreciative, of experiences they've had, and they're wanting to pay it forwards and they're wanting to do that in an ethical way. I think also everyone's training to be a coach because when someone's training as a coach and then they make little decisions in their life and they often look happier, their skin's glowing more, and all of a sudden people are saying these things to you, and they're like, have you done something different? And you're like, no. But if you think about it, you're like, oh, actually, like I'm engaged in something that is really meaningful to me. It's really interesting. Um, and you just feel like you found something that you've been looking for.
Mm.
That's generally the experience that people have. And I believe that the body and the mind are connected, and so I'm really happy that I discovered coaching so that I have a bit more knowledge like about myself and can, sense things about myself. If I'm starting to feel stressed about something, for example, then being able to sense it and being able to have the agility to be able to work out what that's about and what I might be able to do about it and how can I start to shift that or change that in some way. So that might seem like oh yeah, maybe, or, I'm not sure if I believe in that, but for some people that will ring true and that will be a reason why they come to train as a coach.
I think why do people come and train with us is like an extension. I think if you're listening to this podcast, it's about, do you resonate with what we're saying? Like our clients resonate with what they're saying. We often hear people say, I love the podcast. I've listened to every episode. I binged it. You can't binge it unless you resonate with what we're saying. Like if there's someone listening to this episode and they're like, what are they talking about? They're not going to come and train with us. Like they're going to go find somebody who's like more action focused. And obviously we cover all of that on our program as well. But the essence of what you get from this podcast is the culture that runs through our organization, all of our training programs. They're built with love, they're built with passion, they're built with an obsession for this thing that happens to be called coaching, but is ultimately about contribution to humanity. And I think if you resonate with that message, that's where you probably end up on one of our programs. So
You'll find, yeah, for sure, you'll find a place somewhere, whether it's in the initial coaching training or one of our CPD programs. The heart and the love and the soul is the same. As you say, it runs throughout it. So if you're interested in training to be a coach with us, the quickest way to work out what's the right training would be to come and do our quiz, and you can access that at mycoachingcourse.com.